Hey, Greg here, founder of www.wrestling-divas.webs.com, your source for highlighting the most beautiful and deadly entertainers in professional wrestling. I am very excited and in awe of my next special guest. She is a former WWE Diva, Playboy Cover Girl, and Celebrity Apprentice contestant. She also rounds off that impressive resume as a singer and has made appearances on Project Runway and Family Feud. So I'd like to welcome my next special guest, the very lovely, very beautiful former WWE Diva, Maria Kanellis. Hi, Maria. Can you hear me?
Hello there. Yes, I can hear you.
Thank you so much for joining me. This is a huge, huge honor. I really appreciate it.
Oh, no worries. Thank you.
So I was reading over what you've been recently doing since your release from the WWE, and something really caught my eye. You are a creative director for the women's division down at Crossfire Wrestling, which is a fairly well-known independent promotion here out on the wrestling circuit, I believe in Tennessee. Can you define that role for us and what you plan to do with the Crossfire division that will separate it from other divisions out there in the wrestling world?
Well, I hate to disappoint you, but I actually left working for them in December. The person that owned it promised a lot of things to a lot of people and wasn't able to keep up with those promises. And I don't do well with liars, and I think he probably had a very good heart about it. But at the end of the day, people work very hard, and when they work so hard, they should get paid. And when I saw that promises weren't being kept, I had to leave that company. So I left in December of last year. It was great. I really enjoyed being down there. I loved working with the girls that I got to work with. I worked with Jessica Havoc and cheerleader Melissa and Jillian Hall and Rebby Sky. I had a really good group of girls, and I plan on doing something with the girls division in the very near future. So, but for now, Crossfire Wrestling is completely gone, and I don't know if it will come back or not. But like I said, I left them in December.
Oh, I see. Part of what you just expressed was part of what fans don't see, and that's the business and politics end of professional wrestling. And us fans can never really experience what that's like until we actually pursue a career. When you started out in wrestling as a part of the Diva search and being thrust into the politics end of things, was that a difficult transition for you? And how did that change your overall opinion on what professional wrestling is in general?
I've been an entertainer since I was 14 years old, so I have seen a lot of different politics and a lot of what the entertainment world is. And I think the thing that separates wrestling from any other entertainment is the fact that it is on the road 250 to 300 days a year. And with a schedule that is that busy, you spend a lot of time with individuals. But at the same time, it's nothing different than would happen on the set of a movie, or if you were trying to get a job on a television show. It's the same type of politics. There's nothing different. In any company, there's hazing, and wrestling takes it to extremes sometimes, but to be honest with you, it's not much different than what I've experienced at other jobs. So, yeah, the politics are there, but at the same time, the politics are everywhere. And I think that that's one thing that kind of wrestling gets a bad name with that, but I really have realized in the last 3 years of being out in Hollywood and out more in the entertainment world that, honestly, it's no different anywhere else.
So besides what you've done with Crossfire, you're also wrestling on the independent scene. You're the First Lady of Ring of Honor, and you're wrestling for Family Wrestling Entertainment. You're actually the current reigning women's champion there. And I think it was Raw After Buzz TV that I was watching online that you said that since you've been on the independent scene, you've really gotten to know wrestling a lot better and enjoy it in a lot more ways because you're not forced anything. You are free to experiment, and you understand the independent circuit in the way that people over there work their way up the ladder. How has working that end of professional wrestling enriched your mind and not only the development of what you perceive to be the business of wrestling, but your character development as well?
You know, I think with any job, it's good to see it from all different angles. One of the best shows is when the boss goes and into a company, and I'm trying to think what the name of the show is, but anyways, and the boss comes into just a simple position within a company and works his way throughout the company and realizes, you know, that these people do work extremely hard, and he may be the boss, but he needs every single person within that circle in order to make an entire company work. And I honestly feel that way about my wrestling career now, is I get to view wrestling from every different angle, from when I was producing shows and running the women's division down in Nashville for Crossfire Wrestling, to being a champ for FWE and feeling what that's like, to being bad and, you know, being able to expand on that and figure out what it feels like to be a bad guy, because I never got to do it when I was within WWE. It really has given me a greater appreciation for wrestling, and it's made me a fan again for wrestling. So I think that with all companies, it's good for people to try out every single job in order to understand their own job. And honestly, that's what I've been doing for the last 3 years, is really seeing the nuts and bolts of what goes into wrestling.
So I'm sure working on the independent scene, again, like you said, you get to understand all aspects of professional wrestling, and I'm sure you see a lot of upstart young talents that are really trying to make it to where you've been, the big stage that everyone wants to go to. Unfortunately, due to the way the business is, some of the most talented people in this industry never, ever make it. So how do you think... I don't know
about that anymore. Honestly, since I've seen the independent scene, I really do think that the greatest of the greats do get a shot at it. And if they're ready for it or not is really what defines that moment on being a success or a failure. I mean, the way that things are going now with wrestling, a lot of guys from the independent scene are getting chances and they're getting shots. Sure, there are going to be a few people that are out there that don't ever get a chance. And, you know, I feel so horrible for them. But at the same time, the toughest working people in wrestling right now are getting chances, and they are being able to show what they've got. So it may have used to be that way, that, you know, maybe 8-9 years ago, that some of the best independent wrestlers in the world didn't get to make it to WWE or didn't get to make it to TNA or, you know, Ring of Honor if that's where their dream is. But nowadays, they will get a shot, and it depends on how well they do with that shot. I've seen so many guys get opportunities now that, you know, they are guys that I'm rooting for and cheering for, and I think that they're absolutely amazing wrestlers, but they are getting a chance. And I think that's the biggest change nowadays than from 8-9 years ago.
I've had probably more than a couple of people during my interviews tell me that you're going to have to look the part in wrestling before you ever get it. So how do you think they should approach wrestlers and wrestling companies, the whole visual appeal of wrestling, and how much of that should take charge when trying to weigh athleticism versus entertainment and looks?
Well, I mean, you have to look the part with anything. And there's a reason why Tom Brady is the most popular guy in football. It's because he's a good-looking guy. He has a hot wife. He epitomizes everything you want a successful person to be, and he's an incredible athlete. So, I mean, if you look across the board, you have to have something different. Dennis Rodman, he had something different. You know, he was a tough basketball player, you know, but he also looked tough. So if you're trying to approach anything, no matter if it's basketball, football, or wrestling, or if you're trying to be an actor, I mean, Johnny Depp looks like Johnny Depp. He looks like exactly what you expect him to be in every single film. And that's a little bit different, kind of rough around the edges. And, you know, so he looks the part every single time he goes into a role, goes into a character. So no matter what you're trying to do with your career, whether you're trying to be a nurse or a wrestler, you have to look the part. Now, does that mean you have to be a big jacked-up guy? No, because if you look at Daniel Bryan, he's not the biggest guy in the world. If you look at Evan Bourne, he's not the biggest guy in the world. If you look at Kofi Kingston, he's, you know, some of these guys that are extremely successful, they aren't giants, and wrestlers are getting smaller, and that's just the way of the way things are going. So you don't have to be huge. You just have to be different. And that sometimes people use it as an excuse, and I hate that excuse because there's so many ways of being different than just being a big jacked up guy. There's having different hair, or if you like tattoos, showing off those tattoos and not having ugly, disgusting tattoos. There's being just a really well-maintained guy. You just have to be different. You have to have clean tights when you go to a tryout. You can't go in looking like you have tights that are 10 years old. You have to be clean and ready to go. You have to want it. And having a look, not the look, but a look, is part of wanting it.
No, you know this perhaps better than anyone else in the world, but when you're wrestling for a big company like the WWE or even an independent company, you're an employee and you ultimately don't have control over the way your character develops. I mean, if Vince wanted you to do one character one day and then another the next, he could do that. So when your career goes upwards and downwards and sideways, I mean, sometimes that can be frustrating, and I've talked to people who have made it to developmental, and they didn't really know where their careers were going, and they got a little discouraged. How did you approach dealing with those types of frustrations? Because I'm sure you must have had a couple of ideas that you really wanted to do in the WWE that never really pulled through.
Of course. I mean, that always happens, that there's things that you want to do. But I mean, you're not just one spoke on the wheel. There's 100 spokes on the wheel to make a show run. And no matter how bad you want something, unless you're making the money for the company and putting the butts in the seats, you have to just ride the wave. And I felt completely different about this 3 years ago. And, I was very frustrated about everything. But now that I look at it, I realize where my position was within the company, and I had a pretty good spot in the company. I got to do a lot of amazing things. And Trish said it best, when she was asked about Natty's storyline. And they're like, well, doesn't that suck that Natty has this storyline where she farts in it? And Trish was like, you know what? You have to make the most of it. And if you make the most of it, then your talent is going to shine through. And that's what Natty did. She made the most of it. And you do. And I think that about, Tentai. He, right now, he could have fought this story. He could have been like, no, I'm not going to wear lingerie. And but it's made him awesome. Like, I love watching him. I love his approach to it. So it really, I've grown and I've gotten older, and I kind of see things for what they are now. And no matter what the opportunity is, you have to make the most of it. And yeah, it sucks to go up and down and be on a roller coaster, but we also get the opportunity to be on that roller coaster. And a lot of people don't get that opportunity. So whenever we do get those opportunities, we just got to roll with it.
Now, I think that this was another thing that you said on AfterBuzz TV for the Raw After Show. But as far as the way that you see women's wrestling and the approach that should be taken, you take the Fabulous Mo approach, and I don't do many biases in my interviews, but I completely agree and agree with you and her and say that there's a time and place for everything in women's wrestling, whether that be sex appeal or athleticism or whatever else you want to bring to the table. But as far as, working a match and trying to bring this character to life, what does this whole time and place approach mean to you?
Oh, I definitely take that approach. I mean, Mildred Burke, who, one of the greatest female wrestlers of all time, she used to wear a white outfit to the ring, and people said she looked like she was naked. And at that time, it was extremely racy to do that. But she did, because she knew that she just had to get them in the building. And once they were in the building, she could show how tough she was. And if that took wearing a bright white outfit that made her look like she was naked, that's what she did. But Mildred Burke is incredible. She's an absolutely tremendous athlete. So, there is a time and a place for it. There is a time to be tough, and there's a time to be weak. And there's, most of the time I lost my matches. And that's okay. I got to be on TV for 5.5 years. I still got to be in the ring with some amazing talents. Doesn't make me a weak person? No, it makes me strong, because I was able to last 5.5 years, and people still believed I might win a match. So, I do take the approach of there's enough room in female wrestling for sex appeal, for strength, for the athletes, for the models, for all of it. And definitely I think that that's the best way to approach it, because if you look at the guys, it's the same thing. There's a big guy, there's a little guy, there's a good-looking guy, there's some really ugly men in wrestling. There's all of those things, and it should go for both. It should go for both male and female wrestling.
So now that you've taken that approach and really developed a lot more, when you wrestle now, what is the message? And, of course, this goes into in-ring psychology, but what is the message that you want to send to all the fans who are watching you about who Maria Kanellis is?
That I want to win. That's it. I mean, and I think that, that's lost sometimes, but now, the only thing I want people to believe when they're sitting in the seats is I might win, and they want to see if I'm going to win or not. I want them to be entertained. I want them to have fun with me. I want them to go on a ride with me. And that's it. I mean, I don't need to be the biggest or the toughest or the skinniest or the most beautiful. I just need people to have fun. Wrestling is fun. That's Chikara's approach to it, and I truly believe that's what it should be. And I've had so much fun over the past 2 weekends, because I've gotten to do mixed tag matches with Mike, and I've had an incredible time with him. And I used to get so stressed out about everything, and now I could care less. I hope it goes good, but you never know.
It seems that learning the industry from the independent scene has really relaxed your mind about certain aspects of the industry, and dealing with the whole behind-the-scenes aspect can be something that's really frustrating to a certain person that doesn't know what they're doing or how things go, or the etiquette behind the politics. In your opinion, from what you've seen and heard, where do people begin to go wrong in this industry, and what's needed to make sure that they don't continue to go down that wrong path?
I think that instead of coming into wrestling and saying, you know what, I'm going to do the best I can today, and I'm going to do the best I can tomorrow, and I'm going to do the best I can the day after that, and I'm going to learn from everyone. People come into the wrestling going, I'm going to change it. You're not going to change anything, not until you're a top guy. And until you become a top guy, you have to learn every single thing you possibly can about this business. Because no company changes from the guy that's sweeping the floors. No company changes that way. They might eventually change from the guy sweeping the floor, but it's probably going to be after 5 or 10 years working on that and working at that company. And that should be the approach that any wrestler has. And I was very lucky that I came in not knowing a lot about the ins and outs of the wrestling, politics or dichotomy or whatever you want to say. I only knew that I loved wrestling because I was a fan. And so I came backstage every time thinking, oh, my gosh, I can't believe I'm standing next to Trish Stratus. Oh, my gosh, that's The Undertaker. Holy cow, that's The Rock. And so I was a fan when I came in. So I just loved the company. And I learned about the politics as I went along. But I was very blessed because I didn't think that I was going to change anything. I just wanted to entertain. And that is how everybody should approach it, because everybody came in because they wanted to wrestle and entertain. They didn't come into wrestling thinking, I'm going to change the business, because they didn't know better. It's from being on the indies and sitting there and mulling everything over and getting angry about it that some guys come to this reasoning that they can change the business right as soon as they come in. You can't. You have to work at it. You have to win over the fans. You have to win over the guys backstage. You have to start at the bottom and work your way up. And I think that that's the best approach, and I think that that's where a lot of guys go wrong.
Now, based on your journey, I am very excited to ask you this next question, and it's always
sure.
Tradition. But if you could sum up your experience in the professional wrestling world as a professional wrestler in just one word, what would that one word be?
Student. Just a student. That's all we are. We're just students.
Before we get to how fans can contact you, many people in the industry say that once you enter the wrestling industry, you never, ever truly leave it. So how do you think wrestling will continue to affect your life even after you hang up your boots?
Well, I'm getting married to a wrestler, and his career is going to be a lot longer than mine. So I have a feeling that eventually there'll be little wrestler babies running around. So I don't think that I'll ever not be a part of wrestling in some way or another. And nor do I want to get away from it. It's really freeing once you realize what wrestling truly is, to be able to live your life. It gets all complicated and convoluted when you start trying to overanalyze things. It's another entertainment business, and honestly, you have to let it go, and you just have to have fun with it, and the ups and downs are going to come, but have fun, and that's why I'm okay with spending the rest of my life in and around the ring, because it can be very fun and very rewarding at times.
Well, we know that there are a lot of unfortunate fake posers out there online, but here is your opportunity to plug in how fans or interested promoters of whatever, whether that be wrestling or entertainment in general, be able to contact you. How can they do that officially?
Well, Maria L. Kanellis is my Twitter. Official Maria Kanellis is my Facebook, but I do not control my Facebook at all. So if you think that you're talking to me, you're not, because I don't do anything with my Facebook. If you want to contact me for bookings, it's Maria Kanellis Bookings at gmail.com, and that's where you can talk to my booking agent. You can also watch videos of me and the Prodigy on Prodigy Superstar on YouTube. You can, I think that's it. I think that's everything. Maria-Kanellis.org is my website. But again, I don't control my website. So the only thing that I really do control is my Instagram and my Twitter.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Maria. I really enjoyed this interview. I find it a huge honor. I congratulate you on your
no worries. Thank you.
Bennett.
Thank you so much.
And I really just your outlook on wrestling. I think wrestling needs more people like you that have a positive approach. So I can't thank you enough. This is truly a highlight of my life. So I really appreciate it.
No worries. You take care. Have a good night, okay?
You too. Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Thanks to everyone else. Thanks to everyone else for tuning in. Be sure to check out www.wrestling-divas, and that's divas with a Z, .webs.com for more exclusive content, and be sure to follow the site on Twitter at Wrestling Divas, again with a Z at the end, for all the latest teasers and updates.